It was late October, the kind of crisp fall weekend when the air smells like damp leaves and wood smoke. My sister had planned a Halloween getaway, flying out for some party with her friends. She couldn't take her dog, Milo, a sweet old German shepherd who'd grown more like a shadow than a pet over the years. I'd watched him before, and I didn't mind doing it again. Because my apartment didn't allow pets, I packed a bag, grabbed my work laptop, and drove down to her house, a quiet suburban place surrounded by a patch of forest, just 30 minutes from the city. But once you were there, it felt like you'd stepped out of the world. When I arrived, she was rushing around with her suitcase, giving me last-minute instructions about Milo's food and the spare keys. Then she was gone, leaving me, Milo, in the silence. Milo was the easiest dog to care for, calm, loyal, and quiet. He liked to stay close, just lying next to me while I worked. I set up my laptop in the guest bedroom upstairs and settled in. For hours, everything felt completely normal, the kind of peaceful solitude I thought I needed. But somewhere between my morning coffee and my second Zoom call, things started to feel different. Milo lifted his head, then again, and again. At first, I thought it was nothing, a squirrel on the porch, maybe a car passing by. But each time he would freeze, ears high, eyes locked on the doorway. Not moving, not blinking, just staring. He wouldn't settle down afterward either. He'd stay tense, watching the same spot for minutes at a time, as if he heard something I couldn't. It was the kind of behavior that makes your stomach twist for no reason. I eventually stood up and did a full walkthrough of the house. Milo followed close, glued to my leg. Every creak of the floorboards sounded too loud. Every shadow seemed heavier than it should have been. I found nothing. No open windows, no strange noises. Still that unease lingered. Quiet, invisible, but very real. By the time I finished working, the light outside had turned gold and thin. It was that late autumn hour when the sky looks almost bruised and the world feels smaller. I decided to take Milo for a walk. Maybe some air would help us both shake the weird mood. Behind my sister's house, there's a trail, a narrow dirt path winding through the woods, part of an old forest preserve. This time of year, the trees were stripped bare, branches like bones against the sky. We started down the trail. The only sounds were the crunching of dry leaves and the steady rhythm of Milo's paws beside me. Halfway through the loop, Milo suddenly stopped. I tugged gently at the leash. Nothing. He stood frozen, body stiff, ears forward, eyes locked on something deep in the trees ahead. I followed his gaze. There was nothing there. No movement, no rustle. Just the endless gray trunks fading into the foggy light. I called his name. He didn't even glance at me. That's when I felt it, that strange awareness, like being watched. I turned around. The trail behind us was empty, still. Something about the silence felt wrong. I gave the leash another pull and said firmly, "Come on." This time Milo obeyed, but the rest of the walk, he kept looking over his shoulder. His tail was low, his breathing short. By the time we reached the house again, I was just as tense as he was. Inside, I tried to brush it off. Dogs pick up things we don't. Maybe he'd heard another animal or smelled something in the woods. Still, I couldn't ignore that heavy feeling in my chest. I called my sister just to talk, half to distract myself, half to ask if Milo ever acted this weird before. She said no. As I walked through the house while talking, I glanced out each window, maybe to reassure myself everything was fine. Then I reached the spare bedroom again. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A figure, dark and moving fast, crossing just beyond the edge of the yard. It was so brief, I almost thought I'd imagined it. But something inside me knew I hadn't. A man, walking left to right, gone before I could focus on his face. For a long moment, I just stood there, staring at the empty patch of grass. My heart hammered. Then I told myself, "You're just tired. You've been working all day. The mind plays tricks." Still, I closed the curtains. Hours passed. Milo fell asleep beside my desk. I tried to distract myself with YouTube videos, pretending everything was fine. But every small sound, the creak of wood, the hum of the fridge downstairs, made my skin prickle. By midnight, I was exhausted, I shut the laptop, grabbed a blanket, and led Milo downstairs for one last bathroom break before bed. The night outside was still, unnaturally still. The forest was a wall of black, the trees barely visible under the porch light. I opened the back door and flicked the switch for the yard light. Milo hesitated, sniffed the air, then trotted out. That's when he froze again. He wasn't looking at the trees this time. He was staring at the side of the house. I leaned out just a little to see what he saw. And that's when I saw him, a man, running full speed, straight toward me. Everything happened in seconds. I gasped and stumbled back. Milo lunged forward, barking, a deep, furious sound I'd never heard from him before. The man stopped dead, eyes wide in shock, like he hadn't expected a dog to be there. Then he turned, trying to dodge, but Milo was already sprinting toward him. The man froze for half a heartbeat, then bolted into the dark. I yelled for Milo to come back, and unbelievably, he listened. He backed away, growling, then ran straight inside as I slammed the door and locked it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial 911. The silence that followed was suffocating. The police showed up about 20 minutes later. Flashlights swept across the backyard, glinting off the trees. They asked the usual questions. What did he look like? Which direction did he run? Was anything stolen? I couldn't give them much. It was too dark, too fast. Then, while one officer was checking the back door, he noticed something. The lock didn't work. The latch clicked, but the door would still open if you pushed hard enough. My sister swore it had worked fine before. They filed their report and left. That was it. No patrol cars staying behind, no reassurance. Just be careful and call if anything else happens. That night, I packed a bag and took Milo to a hotel. Lying awake in that hotel bed, I kept replaying everything. Every noise, every moment Milo had perked up his head, every flicker of movement outside the window. I couldn't shake the feeling that the man hadn't just been outside that night. He'd been there longer, watching, waiting. Maybe he'd been in the woods while we walked that afternoon. Maybe even inside the house while I was working upstairs. The thought made my skin crawl, and that broken lock. That couldn't be a coincidence. Maybe Milo had sensed him the whole time, the way animals know things we can't. If Milo hadn't been there that night, I don't think I'd be telling this story. Days later, my sister returned. The police never found anyone. No footprints, no forced entry, nothing missing. She hasn't had any strange incidents since. No break-ins, no late-night noises, which means one of two things. Either that man was there for her and she just got lucky, or worse, he wasn't there for her at all. Maybe he'd been watching me. Maybe he knew I'd be alone in a quiet house by the woods. No neighbors close enough to hear a scream. No locked door strong enough to stop him. And maybe he thought that weekend would be his chance. It's been months since then, and I still can't fully relax in my own home. Every bump in the night, every creak in the hallway, makes my heart race. I keep checking my doors twice, sometimes 3 times before I go to bed. Because somewhere out there, that man still exists. And he knows exactly what I look like. If you're watching this, remember, evil doesn't always knock. Sometimes it just waits for the perfect moment, when you're alone, and it thinks you're not paying attention. Always trust your instincts, and maybe, trust your dog even more. If you enjoy real-life horror stories, unsolved mysteries, and true crime encounters like this, make sure to subscribe to True Crime Archives channel. We bring you new chilling cases every week. Stories that remind us how close danger can really be. Now I'll leave you with one question. Do you think the man had already been inside the house that day? Or was he waiting for something, or someone else? Tell me what you think in the comments, and until next time, stay safe.